Hey there, speculators. It's Rod, lead derivatives and futures trader, TDG, the Traders Dev Group. We make software and strategies for the active trader and also Futures on Fire. Welcome back to the Futures on Fire channel. I haven't posted in a while. I have missed you. Hey, do you like my COVID haircut? I cut it all by myself. I only had one clipper on the razor side, so I basically had to make the whole thing. It's my first jarhead look, and I'm unshaven. Whatever, I digress. And the green screen. I got the green screen going, so lots of changes. Tonight I'm going to be talking about the small exchange. You don't know what the small exchange is. You don't know why you should care. Stick around, but first hit that like button, subscribe, turn on the little notification bell, and right after these messages, I'll be sure to tell you about an exciting new potential product that you might want to take a look at called the small exchange groups of, I don't know, we call them futures contracts, alternative futures contracts. Stick around. Okay, cool. So this is the small exchange. You can go to smallexchange.com. Why should you care? Well, if you're newer to the channel or you don't know a whole lot about futures, I guess most people that are here are somewhat interested in the futures markets, which is great. Upside of futures, no pattern day trader requirement. You can start with small amounts of money since the amount of capital required, especially for the micro products, is very limited. They trade 23 hours a day. They're tax advantage, a lot of other advantages of futures. One of the downsides is that they all are traded mostly on the Chicago Mercantile Exchange. It's controlled by a monopoly called the CME, and the CME group can tend to charge very high data fees, especially if you're a professional. Most of you are probably not a professional. So the small exchange has come along and has looked to provide an alternative to these CME products, and they're actually launching now, finally. As the time I'm making this video, it's going to be this Sunday or Monday, June 1st or June 2nd. After almost a year of waiting, I signed up for a subscription, I think over a year ago. So they're finally going to be launching, and they're going to be launching with 5 products, but here's the basic gist of why you should care. They are small, so that just means that, hence the word, the small exchange. So they're very approachable for people that are just learning how to trade. They're going to trade in very standard increments as well. So standard, what does a standard increment mean? Well, again, without getting too wonky here, a lot of futures contracts, in fact, every single futures contract has its own unique tick value and point value. Those things can get very, very confusing. One of the things people like about stocks is the concept is pretty darn simple. If I buy 100 shares of a stock at $10, I know what it costs me. I know what I make if it goes up $1. I know what I'm down if it goes down $1. The futures markets, you got to do a little work to understand the way they operate. Now, that research is worthwhile. And by the way, you can check the description below for how you can join me for 10 days for just $10, actually 2 full weeks, and get full access to my Futures on Fire trading course, which will explain to you all of this. You can watch at your own pace, and by the way, that's going to be yours free to keep forever. That's the Futures on Fire trading course, where I go into the details of how a lot of these tick and dollar increments work. In other words, how the inner workings of how futures work. But here over on the small exchange, they're going to try to keep it pretty darn simple. So essentially, it's going to be $1 per tick increment, if you will. So each point is going to be $100, I believe, and it'll be $100. It'll be $1 per point. Okay. You can find out more about that, or I'll learn more about that exactly once I actually start trading them next week. So standard and very simple. So the products are representation of various financial markets. Now, the other thing that's going to be useful about this is they're going to have 5 products. They're going to start with 3. The first 3 they're starting with are actually the 3 that I'm not as interested in. I believe that's going to be their small stock index, which is already sort of covered by plenty of other products. They're going to have a dollar product, which I will be interested in, and then a metals product. Now, that the 2 others that you can see down here in the bottom right-hand corner, which is like this treasury product here, if you will. See, this product is not yet available, but will be launching soon. And then they have a gold product here as well, not yet available, but will be launching soon. Now, hopefully that soon is maybe a couple weeks to a month after they launch the first products. Why do we care about those 2 things specifically, oil and the treasury? Well, first of all, when it comes to energy markets, there's not a lot of alternatives that exist in the futures markets. There's the CL contract, there's a QM contract, there's a Brent contract. And if you followed the news at all over the last 6 weeks or so, there was a very, very chaotic, crazy event that happened with the May crude oil contract that actually went negative in price. But even beyond that, it's just a big contract. It's $10, it's $1,000 per dollar movement in the price of a barrel of oil, and that's because the contract just represents 1,000 barrels of oil. Look, you don't need to know all that. Just know that for most traders, the crude oil contract is it's a little squirrely and it's a little expensive. So the small exchange will have an alternative to that. And I believe once this product launches, it's going to be a much better alternative than to try to trade the USO or those crappy ETFs that are associated with energy. So this should be kind of a pure play on energy at $1 per point, very, very approachable with low margin costs. My understanding is that a lot of these contracts will be able to be traded with as little as $25, just $25 in your account. Now, I don't understand the products, or I don't know them well enough yet to make some recommendations. By the way, I never make any true recommendations. Everything I say here is just for educational purposes. Please remember that. Don't eat yellow stow. Look both ways before crossing the street. And you got to remember the only way to double your money is to fold it in half. However, I will provide some guidelines for capitalization for these products once they actually start trading. So global oil and the 10-year, interested in those because global oil is going to be a nice alternative to the bigger oil product. And when it comes to the treasury product, which is the 10-year, one of the most liquid futures contracts, which tracks the price of the 10-year note. There's no small contract for that at the CME exchange either. So those two specifically are going to be nice alternatives to what's currently available to traders. All right, and if a lot of this is over your head and you're already ready to just move away, I kind of get it. But you can check the description below for opportunity to, again, come on in and see these products traded in person and see if you think there actually might be a good fit for you. Okay, so that's what the small exchange is in a nutshell. How do you get access to it? You are going to have a futures exchange, account. You can go to smallexchange.com/brokers for an example of some of the ones that are going to launch. I'm going to be actually trading it at using Tradovate. I've done some other videos here on the channel. You can take a look at those videos about Tradovate. And Tradovate actually has a link to their help desk that talks about all of the various small exchange info. I'll provide a link to that in the description below as well. But coming back to these other brokers, there's a couple that are noticeably absent, things like E-Trade, Ameritrade, even AMP I don't see on here. I'm sure they're all going to be coming online shortly thereafter if they're not already just missing from this. So you can probably check with your broker to find out if they're going to support this. Okay, so Tradovate's where I'm going to be trading it. Next thing is to come over to subscribers.smallexchange.com. There is going to be one investment that you need to make to start, in addition to, of course, opening and funding a futures account. You're going to have a small exchange subscription, which at the time I'm making this video, I don't think it's going to change. You might search around if there's any kind of specials. For a while, TastyWorks, which is a big sponsor of the small exchange in general. If you're familiar with that firm, they're talking, in fact, they're the major sponsor of it, if you will, but they're not the same. They're not the equivalent. There's a lot of people that are mistaking the small exchange for being an actual subsidiary or product of TastyTrade, and that's not true. It's just that TastyWorks and TastyTrader are certainly sponsoring or investors in the exchange, if you will. But you have to make a one-time $100 investment, and that's going to give you a lifetime subscription to the data. So at the beginning of this video, I mentioned the CME, the Chicago Mercantile Exchange, being kind of a monopoly. The data costs there continue to go up and up and up. To my knowledge, the minimum is like $6 to $10 per month, probably 12 to 15. It's getting even a little higher. And of course, if you are a professional like me, the data costs that you pay are outrageous because you actually have to pay for every single connection you have at various brokers. It's absolutely insane. It's actually crazy. It's almost as if they really don't even want retail trading, although they claim that they do. So if you're familiar with TastyTrade or TastyWorks, they're very retail friendly, retail trader friendly. Hence, that's the whole idea behind this small exchange as well. It's supposed to be very retail friendly. So again, you can check the description in the link below for some how to get to this link, which is subscribers.thesmallexchange. You're gonna have to go and log in or sign up, and you'll be good to go. Probably the easiest, fastest way is if you actually do open an account at TastyTrade or TastyWorks, you can check with them as to, again, I remember that I opened an account way back in October and I still have it open. I've been trading it for almost 4 or 5 months just in the trade room. I call it my TastyBite account. We're just trading some very, very small options, but I opened it for the specific use of actually trading the small exchange, which has now taken over a year to launch. But when you're logged in there, you get all of this futures data included right here, all of the small exchange data, as well as, I mean, they give you all of they're the only broker that I'm aware of that gives you all of this futures data included. To my knowledge, I don't think I'm having any futures data fees taken out of my account, although I really honestly haven't checked. So here's actually the symbols for the small exchange cash indexes. 75 SME, small exchange, PRE, which is precious metals, GO, which is global oil, T10Y, which is the 10-year, and FX, which is going to be the dollar product. So, and again, the 10-year, the dollar product, and the global oil are probably the 3 that I'm going to be the most interested in, mostly because the precious metals, there's already a contract called the MGC, or the micro gold. That's a good product for people that are trading smaller accounts. And the 75 SME, I don't know if that's supposed to be like a small cap, or obviously we already have the Russell. So I'll look at those products, and those are going to be 2 of the first 3 that start to trade. But again, I'm more interested in the other 3 that I just mentioned. All right, I think I covered just about all of it. One last thing is, I'm not going to reload this here, but in other videos on the channel, I talk about the connection between Tradovate and TradingView. This is TradingView, the online trading platform and web-based charting platform that I really, really like. And I've started to do a decent amount of my trading on this to 2 different back-end brokerages. Tradovate is one of them. So I believe when all this comes together that I will be able to trade these small exchange products as early as next week from TradingView. So I'll have a quote through TradingView because the data will be getting pumped in through Tradovate. And once I understand how this all works, I'll do a follow-up video to let you know all the various connections, because I believe you have to provide your broker with your data subscription key or token or something like that. So there'll be a couple moving parts. But overall, I think that this is going to be something that people can get started for a very small amount of money. I would say $500 to $1,000. Again, there's nothing about this that makes it different than any other instrument, in the sense that you don't trade live capital until you have a system and strategy that you followed and have been profitable for a period of time, and you're very familiar with the product that you're trading and how it all works. At that point, you can go live. But there might be a small investment even to get access to the data, to watch it, and to get started. So I'll probably do a follow-up video sometime next week after we've got 1 week of trading under our belt. All right, that's it. Stay tuned to the channel. I'm actually going to record a series of videos here today, since I got the camera and everything up and working, and I got my new fancy-ass haircut. If you like this kind of content and you want to be notified as to next time we broadcast and add more stuff like it to the channel, I am trying to grow this YouTube channel. We're just in our beginning stages here, but hit the little like and subscribe, notify button to be notified the next time that I broadcast. And check the description below for the links to everything I discussed in this video. Okay, that's it for tonight. My name is Rod, the lead trader with the Traders Dev Group, where we make software and strategies for the active trader. I'd like to remind you to stay green and trade like you mean it. Thanks.